Okay, we are now live on Facebook and we are live on Twitter, and we're also live on YouTube. Once more this evening, welcome to Njenje Media TV. I am Mazi Ezoke. And on today's one-on-one conversation this evening, my guest today is no other person than a man you all know, that is in the person of Senator Enyinnaya Harcourt Abaribe. On that note, I would quickly say, the Senator of the Federal Republic, you're welcome to Njenje Media TV.
Thank you. I'm really obliged.
Okay. You're welcome, Senator. Since April 2007, you've been representing Abia South Senatorial District of Abia State in the Nigerian Senate. Now, Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, for those of you who do not know, he holds the title Mwadi Ohamma Ngwa. Many of us have conferred him Marandigo, though he has not officially accepted that, but we have decided that eventually, when he will, we'll all be glad. An outspoken senator he is, who always speaks his mind on national discourse. Again, Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, you're welcome. Now let's get straight to the point. In 3 days' time, that is on Monday, the 1st of March, incidentally, that day is also your birthday. You will have a public presentation of your memoir, which some people call autobiography. The title is Made in Aba, and that event is going to take place at the Yaradua Center in Abuja, which will be streamed online again on our various media and media platforms. I believe all is set for that book, and I can attest to that. Now, to the meat of the matter, let me start by asking you, what informed the choice of the title of your book, of your memoir that says Made in Aba? What inspired you in putting up this book, and especially not Made in Ngwa, nor Made in Anibo, or Made in Abia State, but Made in Aba? Thank you very much, the Senator.
Thank you, Tochukwu. I would say that the title came out of what my colleagues in the Senate actually called me. We found that my colleagues tend to, every time they want to call me by name, rather than call me my name, they say, Made in Aba Senator, Made in Aba, because I promoted and I've been promoting the things made in Aba for a very long time, for about 7 years now in the Senate. And at a particular time, I even had to get the shoes, the slippers, the stuff made in Aba, the Ishiago and everything, and just gave it out to my colleagues for free. And all of them, everyone, when they look at me, they just say Made in Aba. And so when we're searching for a title for these memoirs, it just struck us one day. Why don't we just name it this particular name that they know me here for? And that's how we came about it. Secondly, it's also nostalgic of the fact that I'm an Aba boy. I grew up in Aba. I don't know any other place. I grew up and became a man in Aba, let's just put it that way. So the ethos of Aba is right inside me. And for those of us who were born in Aba, some of us call ourselves Aba brought up. Some I said they were Aba before the war. Some are Aba after the war and all that type of thing. So Aba is really I would say, the essence of me. And of course, I represent Aba in the federal legislature at Abuja. And so at every point, you will just see Aba always in and around me. And that's how we came about that. As for what made me try to put this thing down, I realized that I had entered politics actively in '98. That was during the Abacha's contraption of 5 fingers of a leprous hand, according to late Bola. And if you take from that time to now, we're talking more than 2 decades. And some of the things that happened, some of the things that I got to meet coming into politics, and I felt that if I don't put it down, maybe they will also fade away into history. And what normally happens with us is that once things fade away into history, then we have revisionism setting in later, because somebody else will come and say, no, that's not what happened. They will write something else entirely. So I figured that now that I still have, a very good grasp and knowledge of what happened, I might as well put it down. The other reason also was that a lot of people meet me and they want to know, what is it about you? Why? How? How did you become a politician? What made you go in? So I felt that it was necessary also to write my story from childhood all the way to this point, to do 2 things. One, to be able to have an accurate chronicle. 2, my father, who was a Second World War veteran, who also fought in Burma, we found that when he died, and we were trying to look into his papers and his books, we found medals that, Burma Cross, all those things. And he never at any time sat us down to tell us these stories, to say, this is what happened to me. This is how I became what I am. And I felt that I shouldn't have bequeathed the same legacy of not being able to let my children and my grandchildren know about me in a much more profound manner. So those are all the things that came into my mind. I said, okay, let me see what I can write a little story. I think the biggest problem I had in writing this story is how to make the story flow without getting bogged down in details. How to make the story, you read from one chapter to the other so that it's a captivating thing. What to leave in and what to leave out was really a very big difficulty. So maybe there'll be a chapter 2, because a couple of friends of mine read it and they said, no, there are too many things you didn't put in. Well, who knows what will happen in future? But this is just the beginning.
So it means that we are likely to see a memoir too.
I think that my political journey has not ended. In the book, you'll also notice that I never said much about how I got into the Senate and all the things I did in the Senate up to this moment. Reason being that I'm still in the Senate and things are ongoing and things are happening in and around me, and I'm playing a part of it. So I figured that maybe when this time passes, when I get to retire, maybe I will now have to write something else just to chronicle what has happened within this period.
Okay. So, Senator, going through the book, the electronic version, you kickstarted that book with your life as a lecturer, a PhD student, an area manager with the SCOA company in the late 80s. Can you take us through that journey? Basically, from what I gather from that book, it is that, that period in time that really formed and cemented who you are now, who you are today.
So what I did was to try to say, okay, I'm one of those who entered the elementary school when we had independence. 1960, I entered elementary school in 1960. And what I remember really very much was the fact that I eat rice in school. They gave every school and every student, I think they cooked for us and gave us the small green, white, green flag. And so I tried to picture it and say, at that time, we were very innocent. We saw Nigeria as our big deal. we actually didn't see ourselves at that time as Igbo, Yoruba, Bini, all that. All these things came later. In our little world, all we saw was a Nigeria. And of course, by 1960, not many people were eating rice every day like we do today. And so to eat rice in school was such a big deal for us, you know. And then, of course, I went further to when I went to secondary school, and some stories there. By the time I came out of Government College Umuahia, I could not immediately go into the university. So I now took a job as a teacher. So I started life as a teacher. And I told one very little story, you know, for youths of today. My first salary, when I was paid my first salary, rather than go home with it and show my parents, I went to the market and bought a stiletto shoe because I've been eyeing a stiletto shoe and I couldn't afford it. So I used my first salary to go buy a stiletto shoe. And I got home and my parents were like, how could you be this silly? Those who trained you, those who did everything for you, couldn't even come back to center it on them. You went to the market to go and buy this, you know? And of course, it taught me a big lesson. The big lesson being that you live modestly, you live within your means. You don't overreach yourself. It is when you overreach yourself that you put yourself in trouble. And I've always had that thing in the back of my mind. So whatever I can't afford, I leave it because I know that that is. And but today, so I find youths calling me and say, I'm going to do wedding. I have no money. And I want that to them. And when I tell them that I never wedded, I didn't do because I didn't also have the money. And my wife didn't mind. All she wanted was, okay, so let's build a life together. But it looks like today is a very big problem for youths to live within their means. So I try to tell those little stories inside there to see whether people can draw lessons from them. But I eventually, after going to school in University of Benin, I also told her I went to school there. The University of Benin was starting a program in the social science. And they just said, hey, if you had a grade 1, you can come, they just give you. And I went there without anything. I didn't have to go with anything saying that my name was Naya Baribe. I just went and said, I'm Naya Baribe, I had a grade 1, look at it in the newspaper. And they said, okay, fine. They gave me forms to fill, and that was it. There was no cross-check. There was no, we were just innocent then. There was no identity theft, so that you needed to now go back to your local government chairman to give you this to find you. And of course, I went to school for free. They gave me meal tickets, gave me a room and all that, because once you had a grade 1 at that time, it was an automatic scholarship. And they filled the forms themselves and sent. So I didn't pay anything. And on top of the automatic scholarship, I also had a bursary, because at that time, you can apply for a bursary. Once you're a student, they will give you 1,000 naira a year, which we also applied and got. And so life was good for us. So when I see what goes on today in universities, because I pay fees for a lot of students, I think that we were the people who actually enjoyed Nigeria. Then I finished from University of Benin, went to teach in Bendel State University. And from there, I went to Lagos to become a manager with SUA. And from there, I went to Nikon. And so I tried to tell all those small stories. And there were so much, I would say, lessons that we could learn from there. That the Nigeria we see today, where we identify with where we come from, and we only help those who come from our own side. It was not like that. Growing up, being a man and all that. In fact, in the Senate, I jokingly tell the Edo senator that I'm their 4th senator, anything that concerns Edo, because I spent 10 years of my life there, from 1975 to 1985. before I went to Lagos, and all that. So it's really been a journey. And I think that everybody has these stories. Everybody's life is full of small chapters of this nature. It's just for you to be able to, get to put it.
I mean, it's understandable. You've made that journey from that point in time, when you juggling jobs as a PhD student, doing your doing your lecturing job. Now, at what point did you make that transition to become a politician, and what informed the decision?
No, I had about 1990, if you remember, the Babangida administration with Okong was also, they liberalized we could now set up houses, and I think it's somebody else.
Sorry about that.
Hello. Yeah, I've muted. I don't know whether they're getting me. Tochukwu, if you're getting me, just
we can hear you. We can hear you. Okay. Go ahead.
So after that, we set up a mortgage bank, and we set up that mortgage bank just before the elections of 1993. So the elections of 1993, it played havoc with the financial sector, and so the bank collapsed, and I had to now go back to being a businessman. And at that time, I used to run between Nigeria and China. I used to do trading. But I had an elder in the church that was kind of like a mentor. And we used to discuss Nigeria, discuss all the things. And every time I would complain about those people, and the man challenged me and said, why is it that you come here and complain every time? Why wouldn't you go join them? If you think that you're better, try. And I thought, okay, just on a whim, okay, let me go and see whether it is possible to do this. That's why also, the subtitle of my book is A Life of Coincidences. Nothing was planned. Just on a challenge, I said, okay, let me go and see. Maybe I will do much better than all these people that I can see around there.
So just like El-Rufai that wrote Accidental Public Servants, an accidental politician as well.
I was an accidental civil servant. My own, yes. I was an accidental politician. But one thing about politics, which everybody ought to know, is that it's got an allure of its own. Once you enter, it's very difficult to, here you can mute yourself or mute yourself. It's very difficult to mute yourself in politics. You will always be there. And so I entered. I had some difficult moments, and of course, I also had some triumphant moments. And here I am today. That is how I went. I went there on a dare. Well, not on a dare, on a challenge, and I'm still standing.
How far, the challenge that brought you to the Senate, basically, how far would you say is that challenge being, would you say you are, so you're basically subduing that challenge? You're doing justice to that challenge?
I do not know, really. I don't think I can grade myself. But if I can make a general statement, I do not think that we're doing so well as people who are entrusted with making sure that the welfare of the people of Nigeria is put in front of anything. I think there are too much self-service going on within the political sphere.
Yeah, but the question was directed at you, not you and your colleague as collective. As a senator, are you think you're doing justice to that thing that propelled you to going into that?
I think that I am making sure that my voice is heard. I try as much as possible to make sure that my voice is heard. Unfortunately for us, at the point of going to the legislature, I also had a misunderstanding and made assumption that being in the legislature, when you do legislation, that you also have the capacity to be able to carry it out. But unfortunately, what I found out getting in there is that no matter what you do as legislation, you still have the other arms of government to implement it. So it's either the executive is implementing the things you do, or the judiciary is ruling on the laws that you have made. And the sad thing, of course, is that whichever side fails in their own duties, every one of us takes collective responsibility for it.
Okay, thank you. Now, in the opening part of your book, you narrated how your words as a 5-year-old, when you were asked, what do you want to become? You said you want to become a rich man, or rather a big man, quote unquote. And that eventually propelled you, that thinking as a child, how did that propel you into basically becoming what you are today?
I do not think that what you see or what you say as a child really is what you're always going to have in the back of your mind. Say, I must do this, I must do that. I think that was just a childish thing. But I think also looking at it, for us, living in and around the neighborhood then of the big lawyers driving their big cars, of the big doctors doing all that, of the big engineers and so forth. All that was always at the back of everybody's mind that this is a big man. And therefore I said, okay, you study hard. The ethos was actually work hard. When you work hard, you will succeed. That was always what we were taught. There was nothing like, okay, try and write letters, try and be, what they call Yahoo, all those type of things. Those were not the things. Everybody always said, work hard, study hard, make sure that you do well, because that will lead to success. And I think that maybe the hard work that we have done has also brought us to this point.
There is no element of spiritual connection to the prophecies.
I don't know about that. I think that I will leave that one to those who have those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Professor Patu Tumi, in his foreword in your book, Made in Aba, said the following. He said, and I quote him, from his early battle as deputy governor of Abia State, not many people know that you were once deputy governor to Ojus Okalu. And he continues and he says, in a culture in which states are fiefdoms, in which governors were lords of manors and their deputies as spare tire, Abaribe must have come to a full realization of the biblical suggestion that life of a man on earth is warfare. Also, in chapter 7 of your book, you titled it One Tenor, Three Impeachments, which Professor Patu Tumi therefore then concludes that, again, he refers to this as the tragedy of 1999, where people who should never have been in politics captured the space. Now, Senator, can you tell us why you were impeached 3 times?
Well, I guess you have to read the book to see it.
Give us a because I think that's just, don't tell us all the stories so that people will still go and buy the book. We still want to sell market.
What happened, I think, at that time was the fact that when you're strange bedfellows and you're tied together by the fact that you have all been elected into office, people around the authority in the state would want to devise ways of saying, let us resolve the issue for the Oga by, engaging in all that. And the only way of getting me out of office was by impeachment. And so there was always an attempt, one attempt after the other, one attempt after the other. And that is what I think happened. And all that attempt was to say, okay, I can't work with this man, he must go. Of course, the fact that you also have immunity, so there's no other thing that they can do except to go through the House of Assembly. And so every one of us were new. Governor was new, I was new, House of Assembly was new. This was just in 99, everybody was learning. And so we could now say everybody was going through the ropes. These days, if you remember what happened in Kogi State a short while ago, the deputy governor, they tried to impeach him. The House of Assembly looked at it and said that they should pass it because there are stages. And the stage was now to go to an independent panel to look at the charges against the deputy governor. And that panel looked at it and did not find the deputy governor guilty, and brought back their report saying deputy governor not guilty. The House of Assembly ignored the report and went ahead and said, we're impeaching him. We don't care whether he's guilty or not. So that tells you the tragedy of the situation that deputy governors find themselves. In my own case, like I said, everybody was learning, and so it didn't happen that way. In fact, the first impeachment that they tried died on the floor. When I wrote my response, they read the response. I said, of course, we can't find this man guilty because he didn't do anything. Before the second one came, third one came, all this type of thing. So that is. Yeah, Utomi was right in saying that it was a tragedy. I think that, and I think I've had this discussion in some other places where, and I think last week I was in a panel discussion with El-Rufai, and he also said that in 1999, most of the people never believed that the military was going to hand over power. So those who ought to have participated actively stayed out. And those who took over were basically those who were contractors to the military, were friends of the military, and so on and so forth. And when they now took over, they even became far more autocratic than the military people that they and I think it was this obey the last order with immediate effect and all those type of things. I try to highlight those things in my book to say you can't have a democracy without being a Democrat.
But it appears we are having a democracy where we are not even Democrats. That's the way it looks like today. Now, we talked about the journey so far. Like I mentioned at the beginning, lecturer, area manager, deputy governor, now a senator. Not only a senator, you are also the highest ranking Igbo senator in the National Assembly. Now, my question to you is, what is the place of Ndigbo in Nigeria today?
I think that Ndigbo, we suffer a tragedy today. The tragedy is this: we are confined to 5 states. That automatically makes us a minority. Every other zone has at least 6 states, which means that they have at least 18 senators. As in Ndigbo, we have 15, 3 per state. So that automatically means that we cannot have our way if we do not, collaborate with, people from other zones, and we try as much as possible to caucus with them. And so, on the floor of the Senate, we try to just work within our caucus. The caucus of the, at this time, is minority because most of us belong to the People's Democratic Party. The second part of the problem that we have is that there is a tendency among the greater Nigerians to use Ndigbo to solve problems. And so at every point, it comes into that, okay, so once an Igbo man gets in there, oh, so his own problem is seen as separate from others. And that is why you see at every time I have to make a trenchant criticism, because I always say, if you treat people differently, then what do you expect from them? And so that makes Ndigbo try to pull back, and there is this agitation for separation and so forth. And so the position of Ndigbo today in Nigeria is not enviable, but that does not mean that we need to lose hope. We must, at all times, continue to make our point. Because if there is any group within the country that have found Nigeria as their own space, it's Ndigbo. We're everywhere. And within the book, too, that's a particular lecture that I gave in Mississippi sometime. I tried to put it in there because I needed for us to see where we are and how we can go forward. My own feeling is that we need to get our homestead better than it is today. And of course, when your homestead is good, then you can now make every other person envy your place.
So,
but it doesn't look so nice. We are just there.
So you basically talked about getting your homestead. Now, getting your homestead to be in the right place. If I just oppose that to the comment made by Patu Tumi as regards to 1999, when you were deputy governor to Orji Okalu, do we have the right leadership today to make that homestead the thing that you alluded to?
I think I will leave you to make that judgment. I'm part of the leadership. And so I can't condemn them because I'm also condemning myself. So I will leave you to look at us and say, are you really doing the right thing?
Okay, I will let that part go. We'll come back to that maybe on a separate occasion. But if I piggyback a little bit from the when I asked you the question, what is the place of Ndigbo in Nigeria today? Now there are 3 things here. One is there is this conversation that most times I've watched you on channels where you've given a different view to this, but this evening, because obviously as days go by, people's view do change. What is your view on the Igbo presidents, or rather Igbo Southeast president of Igbo extraction, vis-a-vis
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think you can see the problem you're having now. You're
Yes.
having the problem of saying Igbo president. Then you turn around and say, oh, president of Southeast.
Exactly. I'll come to that. There is a reason. There is a reason why that distinction, because I do not want to cause trouble where our brothers on the other side will say, oh, okay, when you say Igbo president, you know, when you do certain things, you're basically excluding us. Okay. But what we're saying here, my question to you, I'll repeat that again. Now, if we talk about the Nigerian presidency of Southeast extraction, vis-a-vis the cry for restructuring and also the cry for referendum, where is Ndibo headed to? Because these are three critical things that matters to Ndibo. And as the highest ranking, representative of Ndibo in the National Assembly, I would want if you could, make clarifications to this.
Well, let me put it this way. And I would like us to also, when you look at us as the politicians, also understand one thing. Politicians have to work within a particular milieu, which means that I can't be a senator without having to be a member of a political party. And so, as a member of a political party, it means that I have to influence my party to a particular direction. And basically today, I think there are about 30-something parties after they have pruned it down a little bit. But out of the 30-something parties, there are the big ones, PDP, APC, APGA, and of course, YPP, which made an inroad in the last elections. It means that for us to be able to realize what you want as a president of the Southeast extraction, it means that those of us within each party have to be able to work with others within with all the other zones, to be able to make someone from the Southeast the flag bearer of their party. And that can only be done by negotiation, by being able to convince every other person that you have the capacity to be able to lead that party to victory. It's good and very nice for us, but when we are within parties and we are trying to make choices, part of what we don't do is to make a choice that will lead you to failure. If you just say, okay, just put this one there, and you're going to lose the election, why take such a risk? Because what we're talking about is the presidency, and it's not just a small thing. And so it's something that you have to do by a step-by-step progression. What we see is that people who are not even in political parties stay outside and talk about, no, we must get this, or we should do this, or everybody who doesn't do this, we boycott him and all that. But the decisions to be a candidate are taken within the party. So I would suggest that as much as possible, as many people as possible should come into these parties and be part of the decision-making process.
Is that why we are seeing a lot of crisscrossing happening right now? Because people are coming in there?
When people see that they have a chance somewhere, of course, they should go. Wherever you can go to be able to make that decision should be done, because parties, I repeat, make the decision. On the day that you're going to choose a presidential candidate, everybody will be in a particular venue, and state by state, people will go to cast their votes according to the constitution of each of the parties. But because emotion most of the time trumps reason, and because some of the time people who shout more are listening to more, unfortunately. So it now means that some voices will be drowning the ones that will tell you this is the path to go. So I'm in PDP, and we are also working within PDP to get the different zones, the different sections, the different elements to say this might be our way to go.
Okay, that's basically on presidency, and two other things there: restructuring and the cry for referendum.
Well, I think the restructuring is something that we had championed. And in the last elections, before the 2019 elections, almost every party, including APC that is ruling today, put it as what they will put in the front burner. In fact, APC, before 2015, put it in their constitution. Then by last year, by the time it looked like they were going towards an election, there was an El-Rufai committee. In fact, in my last outing with El-Rufai now blamed us in the National Assembly. I said, we have done our job. We brought out all the things that we needed for restructuring, and we gave it to you people in the National Assembly, and you haven't done anything. And all I told him was, sometime in, I think it was 2011 or so, when we had the unfortunate problem concerning, I think it was 2010 or so, concerning late President Yaradua. The National Assembly came in with the governors and everybody else, and we quickly amended the Constitution, because there was a fierce urgency at that time to amend the Constitution to be able to resolve a nagging issue. And we called it a doctrine of necessity. And I think that today we're also in a very big emergency that needs for us to come together in that way. And we have been reaching out to everybody to say, because, in the Constitution, we can pass an amendment, let's say for devolution of power now. But that amendment needs to go to the states, and 23 states have to be able to, their own houses of assembly to pass it. That is the constitutional requirement. And so if it is difficult for us to do such, then you will not be able to get that passed. In fact, we had a steering committee meeting of the constitutional amendment, and we said, okay, why don't we bring everything down to just a few basic things and say, okay, we must do devolution of power. We must remove all these powers that the federal government has. I think, Ohaneze, we had a meeting a couple of years back, and we said, out of the 64 items in this exclusive list, we can reduce them to 23. And the rest should be devolved to the states. Because once the states are made far more viable, and the center is not as viable, then this constant push for the center will no longer be there. People go back to go and do what they can do in their different areas. And so if we can do devolution, but incidentally, when we try to give autonomy, let's just put it this way, autonomy to state houses of assembly so that they can be independent of governors, it didn't pass. By the time you went to the states, so most of the state houses of assembly didn't pass it for themselves. I think that eventually we found that out of the 20, I think it was 21 or 22 that, and it took, I think we did it twice. And
They
it
still
was
didn't pass.
It passed, So you could see that EHG did so much. Let's just put it that way. In terms of restructuring. But like I said, everybody understands now that there is a very big problem. And that should make every patriot now say, let us come together and resolve these issues. Of course, those benefit from this warped system that we have. We not want it. What they want is to continue to do the same thing that has been done, even though the country is dying because of it. That's it.
From what you've just said, the effort some of you and your colleagues are doing, are you seeing something that eventually there might be this urgency, like in the case of the doctrine of necessity, a dying nation had to wake up suddenly?
Right now, we're seeing it. Right now, everybody knows that if we don't do anything, that the whole thing will collapse. Right now. So I think that right now, it's obvious that we must be able to do that.
That's somewhat encouraging to hear, because obviously the perplexion and a lot of confusion going on in the nation, confuses everyone. You wake up every day, people are now being kidnapped as if, going to the farm and taking some chickens. No one is safe. So obviously something has to give way. But let me stay a little bit within Southeast, Senator, if I may. Earlier this week, the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, said that he invited the Nigerian army to Olu. As an Igbo leader, what is your take on that invitation of military men in the civilian space?
Well, I cannot know what and the reasons why a state government would, you understand, deliberately invite something. I believe that the information that the state government has probably is not as clear to the rest of us, and maybe that will be why he took such a decision. I would rather have preferred that such statements to the public will be followed or will have been preceded by saying A, B, C, D happened. And in order to resolve the issue and in order to bring peace to this area, we were forced to do A, B, C. I think that is what will happen. I will not just, condemn without having full information. I would, maybe it was me, I may have tackled it in a different way. People resolve things in different manners. People see themselves in different ways. And I don't think that being a governor makes you a superhuman being. So whatever you are is how you're going to also respond to issues that confront you. So I maybe in the course of the next few days, if I also come across him, I may ask him to say what exactly happened. And that will probably give me an inkling of what, because what we were told was that nothing untoward happened, and then all of a sudden, I don't believe that somebody will just wake up and say, come in, when there is nothing happening there.
Well, it will be a pleasure to, if you're able to reach out, that many of us actually, apart from the video that came out.
Rob used to be, was a senator. in the last, and so we're colleagues. And I think I can have access to him and ask these questions.
Okay, I mean, that will be, Senator, that will be greatly appreciated. Again, it appears on the political, just staying on the political scene. I mean, that's that's your profession, so that's where we're going to stay. So if we're staying on the political arena, you know, there is this notion, and or rather, if it happens that we don't know, but then you tell us. It appears to be a disconnect between the governors of the Southeast and the senators of the Southeast, that whereby many of us would have preferred a situation where we see more synergy, more coming together as the entity called Southeast.
Well, I think that's also part of what I have also highlighted in this my book. And what I call it humorously is a Kabiyesi syndrome. When people become governors, all of a sudden, they think every other person is not as important as them. And so every other person is seen as a supplicant. And so, which means that gods and supplicants don't dine on the same table. So we have this concern. We have also reached out to governors, and we have meetings occasionally, but it has never been as smooth as we think it ought to be. It's Senator Ekweremadu, former Deputy Senate President, is today the leader of the caucus of the Southeast. And so it's his responsibility, and I'm sure that he will also discharge it in a little while for us to try to come together in the way that you want us to come. But I tell you that some states, some senators in some states have come to me and told me that they've never met their governor since the time they were elected. Not just the senators and the House of Rep members in their states. So if you're unable to meet within your state, will it be for the whole Southeast that you will be able to meet? So you can see the difficulties that we encounter. What I know about the Southeast caucus of the National Assembly is that we are always ready to meet up at any time with the governors, as the case may be, but somehow it has never happened.
It's indeed strange, because I remember having a conversation with the former Ohanaeze president, who basically was trying to get the ministers, now in this case, ministers and governors, to obviously sit together to Jojo as it concerns Ndibo. And that proved a Herculean task. Probably party lines. Party A doesn't want to sit with Party B, and Party B doesn't think, so at some point, one thing, at what point can we really, irrespective of party affiliation or whatever, we like Mr. A, we don't like Mr. B, but for those we represent in Ndibo, and come together for economic development of our region?
Well, one significant thing happened during the EndSARS protest. After what happened in Lagos State, all the Yoruba senators, irrespective of their parties, went together to pay a visit to the governor of Lagos State, commiserate with him, he took them around, showed them and all that. That just showed that they could put aside their political party differences and come together because of their zone, let's say the Southwest. Yeah, and so I think that we should be able to emulate that, and I'm very willing. I do not have any reasons not to attend any meeting that they will call. But well, some things we shouldn't actually let out. But if I call a governor and he can't even pick my phone, and I'm supposed to be minority leader, how would you get it to happen? That's just the point. So this is just
having. I mean, I can I can see where you're coming from. There are things you don't want to let out in the public. I can feel that, but at the same time, it is our job to extract as much as we can from you when we ever have the chance. Maybe I will leave that at that for now. Now, earlier in the year, which I think sometime last year, towards the end of last year, which some of the occasions you attended, and one or two of them you were meant to give some address, but sadly, one or two issues came that you didn't, and that's as it concerned Ohanaeze, when we had the Ohanaeze yesterday, today, and tomorrow series, which was organized by BNC FAB's event. Now, Ohanaeze Ndigbo held an election. Njinji Media with BNC FABs played a very pivotal role in bringing the candidates to speak to Ndigbo worldwide. But as it stands today, the election that took place in Owerri, where Professor Obiozor emerged the winner, there are other two people that we know parading themselves as PG Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Some people had gone to court anyway. A couple of days back, we heard that the court quashed a request to have the current executive and the president arrested, and that was quashed. Now, in as much as some people have gone to court, we have groups, organizations, ASATU, World Igbo Congress, Igbo World Assembly, Nzukọ Ụmụnna, IPOB, and very other groups questioning the legitimacy of the current Ohanaeze leadership. Now, the senator, I've previously asked, why is it that the Southeast Caucus does not meet? Now here, it's beyond Southeast, because when we talk about Ndigbo and Ohanaeze, it goes into River State and goes into Delta. Therefore, my question to you is, taking cognizance of this conflict, because these are things we cannot wish away. It's people like me do not like these conflicts to be in this space. The question is, what do you think could be done in order to have these things resolved for the greater and prosperity of the great Igbo nation?
I think basically we start from first principles. First principles is like this. I've been following Ohanaeze for quite some time. And basically, whenever the Ohanaeze leadership is going to a particular state, the governors of that state play a pivotal role. Because most of the delegates are coming from those states, and the governors determine who those delegates are. So what it means really is that when you are from another I would say, organization want to change what happens, that means that we need to actually go back and say, what does the Constitution say? How do we get to change it and all that? We cannot change it at the point at which you're going to do an election.
Yeah.
I could understand most of the emotions, most of the things that were going on and how people felt. But I felt that the best way would not be to throw away the baby with the bathwater. That what we should do is to say, okay, how do we correct this particular thing in such a way that the outcomes that we see will be the outcomes that we want. And I was also attacked and said, oh, you ought to have condemned, you ought to. And I felt, well, if we now have 4, 5, 6 different organization presidents, the rest of Nigeria will not take us serious. The rest of Nigeria will see us as, okay, so you people, you're just playing. The Yorubas also have some different organizations and some people. But one thing they don't do is this direct assault on their leaders. And that is what I want us to be able to avoid. Ndị Igbo si na achụfuo ofu abịazie bịa taa nwa ọkụkọ ụta. We have an existential problem. We have a bigger problem in our place now. And when we continue to squabble on top, things continue to spoil at the base. And my take is to try to see whether I can bring consensus to bear. And I've tried to talk to, the people, but our people, and I'm talking as a politician now, tend to take things more to heart than others. When somebody loses, oh, he will drag down the whole world. But it's not something that cannot be resolved. I think that with the quiet diplomacy that is going on now and the way we're talking to each other and trying to say, why don't we bury the hatchet? I think that we will get somewhere.
Okay, so in summary, your approach is that the hatchet should be buried, basically, and as they say in Igbo, "Si tugido ya bụ nsị akwụkwọ."
That's what I think. But at the end of the day, we're all one.
Exactly, we are all one. Now, still on the.
But I thought we were talking about my book.
Yes.
I've seen now.
It's we are, sir, because the opportunity of
you can call me and I will talk.
Yeah, the opportunity. Okay, so the thing not there, or rather, what we now have is coming back to the book, which will be unveiled on Monday. Yes, on Monday, and there we will have the Senate President, Dr. Lawan. We'll have Peter Obi. We'll have co-host of others, and it's going to be a very the planning is top notch. It's going to be a very fantastic event. Now, what do you have for people who are aspiring to eventually come and take over from you, obviously?
I put it in the book. And I quoted Christopher Ezifedi, where he said, if you get to a ballroom to dance and the ballroom seems like it's crowded, find a little corner and enter and be dancing. Then you will see that people will get tired, that they get out of the ballroom, and then your space will continue to expand. The only way you can do it is to join and be part of it. And like I said, I also told the story. I came in, just like Patutomi. I did, when I came in, first of all, in 2008, to run for House of Rep, I couldn't find the venue where they were doing primaries. I was sent somewhere else, and primaries were done somewhere else.
Just the way it was done to Professor Patutomi.
That's what happened to me, and it didn't deter me really, because of course, okay, I lost. When things changed, I came back, entered a bus with Jose Okalo as a House of Rep aspirant, left the bus in Aba as a deputy governor aspirant. So you see, these things.
Not a coincidence.
The life of coincidence. It's right there in the book, and you cannot stay away and assume that somebody is going to point at you and tell you to come and take this. The only people who can get that are probably those who get appointed to positions. That happens. But to play the real game of running for office, you must get involved and get your hands dirty.
Okay. So in your book, so those of you watching now that want to uproot and basically send some of them to retirement, you've heard the secret on how to do it.
No, it's
get dancing.
Yeah, if you don't come in, how are you going to send somebody away?
They have to. They have to at some point.
They must be there. They will do all manners of things to you, and you just persevere.
Yeah, and that's. I don't know if you can throw more light on chapter 6 of that book that says swimming deep end among sharks. Is sharks here being used metaphorically?
Precisely. It's metaphorically for the political pool. When you come in, one of the things they will tell you is, that you cannot just come in and then you just win election and go. Niggas say good at politics. ISAPA means that you're going to be following people around and all that. So if you're coming from anywhere, you need to have people who will show you the ropes. If you don't know your way, you also can meet the wrong ones and they will not be able to show you the right way. And one thing that happens is also, and I also put it there, you must have some humility. It's a terrain that does not have any school. It's a terrain that doesn't have any school. And because it doesn't have any school, anything goes within that terrain, within the constitution of the party, so to say, but all manners of things happen. And I tried to put it down. I also tried to let people who are coming into politics to know that human behavior is dependent on the position they find themselves and what problem they confront. You will never believe how low people can go. And so if you come from a background that sees people as decent, sees people say one thing and mean it, a background where contracts are kept. When you get into the political terrain here, people tell you one thing and just go outside and do another thing. And so the whole range of human behavior is encapsulated within the political scene. That's why I said that it's swimming deep among the sharks. If you're thrown in a pool where there are a lot of sharks, if you're not very, I would say, dexterous swimmer, you may just get turned down by it. It's metaphorical.
So for those of you watching us on the various social media handles, This book is now available right away. You can get them on Amazon, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, Amazon America. You can also get that book from the Nigerian version of Amazon, which is Okada Book. It's Okada Book, yeah. I think I saw that today. I was really surprised. I said, it appears you are doing a giveaway, Senator, because that book is only 5,000.
This is Nigeria.
Yeah, sure, but I mean,
also it's also just like for you, 5,000 will give us a meal. I don't know whether $5 will give you a meal in America. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good because I checked it out on Okada Book and also got a copy from Amazon myself. So in going through the book, chapter 9 of your book talks about the service to my people. The service to my people. If I may ask, what is that greatest service you will consider yourself that you have given to your people?
Give them a voice. That is the greatest service I've given to my people, a voice. And so they see me and they said, at least we are sure he is there and he won't keep quiet when we're being, oppressed. I think that's what I would say, apart from brick and mortar that we do. That's
yes. So
a legislator, our job actually is to, as much as we legislate and do the business of making laws, our key job is representation. So my person, somebody from my place, has an issue, he can come to me. And so my doors have to be wide open. They can come and say, this is my issue. The one you can deal with, you help them to deal with it. And so that is what I would say that we have done.
Okay, so now, as part of that, in representing your people, obviously, every trade has its own dangers, so to say, and in representing your people, a chapter, preceding that chapter 9 talked about back on the political trial. Meaning so are there inherent danger in that voice you have given to your people in doing that job?
Of course, there are always dangers, and we don't have immunity if you're a legislator. Sometime a couple of years ago, if you remember, I was arrested in my house and taken away. And
yes.
Kept PSS and all that. And the reason was I knew it wasn't because I signed bail for Nnamdi Kanu. It wasn't that. The reason was the criticism of the federal government was trenchant, and the government felt that, they needed to stop you. And so they have to cobble up something to come and use it to, keep you quiet for a while. So that's part of what we go through. And that's what we see. And we think that if we run a proper democracy, then criticism of a chief executive should not be seen as confrontation. You see, that is where the mistake lies. And you say this, and then somebody sits down there and tells this, and that's why I said it's a Kabiyesi mentality. A Kabiyesi, a king cannot be questioned. His decisions are final, and that is what happens. So you always have to have this rough spots.
So now, anyway, let me come back slightly back to the political realm once more. I mean, currently we all see as it appears. Before we came online, we heard that I think it's a Sunday Igboho. There was an attempted arrest to get him, and Duro Fayetimi, I think the barrister that has a dreadlock. I saw a video day before yesterday, where he gave a press conference that his life is under threat. Now, today, or rather earlier this morning or yesterday, we saw the car of the lawyer who rescued some of the Igbo, boys in Obibo that were arrested, and his car was basically riddled with bullets. Now, do you have this sense, as many of us who are not politically exposed to have, that the nation is somewhat turning, into a nation where, if you speak your mind, if you speak up, basically not speaking your mind, but if you speak up, and if it appears that you are speaking against the government, you become a subject of attack. Do you have that notion, sir?
Of course. And I've always said it on the floor of the Senate that this started from 2015, when this government came into power. That prior to this time, you could attack anybody, you could say anything. It is said all manners of things to Jonathan. Nobody was arrested. Nobody was, So this particular government it came in on criticism of the previous, but cannot take the heat that he gave to others. And so when people don't have an argument, they resort to violence. And I think that's what is going on. So the government and the agents of the government try to shut everybody up. And it's very, very unfortunate that is happening.
It is indeed very, very unfortunate, because the way and manner that it happens now, it's, vis-a-vis the fact that we do have a very, very high insecurity, insecurity issues ravaging the whole nation. Now, I would allow a couple of people, 2 to 3 people within the audience to ask you questions. I can see 3 people raising their hands. But before I do, Senator, let me ask you a direct question. You didn't tell us this in your book, but I would want, we would want to know, are you going to recontest again by 2023, or are you going to go for this position of governorship, since we, within the Southeast, we need you?
I will also answer you in the way that politicians answer, that my future will be determined by my people.
You see, politicians always tell us that by the grace of God, they won election. You people always tell us that you won election by the grace of God, but obviously God does not cast vote in election day.
That's why I didn't say God. I said my people, the people of Abia State. They will,
okay, so we can mobilize the people of Abia State to invariably ask you to come and fix Abia. In you had a stint which ended in 2003, and now you could
come
back.
I elected in 2003 and lost
governorship.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you see the irony. It's 2000. Then you have a number with 3 times senator. Maybe after that, in 2023, there's going to make it another 3. Then you come back as a governor of Abia State and you win. So
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Marcel, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry, can you do that again? Can you quickly unmute?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much, Senator Inaya Abaribe.
I like the background. That's San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. San Francisco.
That's the bridge.
That's the bridge we are planning to build in Olo, and then we channel the River Niger across Olo. My senator, I was in your house when you were picked up. And each time I think back on how you came out of the house, how you were squeezed into a waiting Hiace vehicle, and how the DSS blocked the entrance to your house. Your place was a close, and how we had to sit out throughout the night waiting to hear news of you and what happened to you. And then I listened to you, all these things you have said about having even to represent a section of the country that seemed to have odds against them. The whole system was skewed against them. And how you've battled over the years to be a lone voice in the midst of all these things. And my question is, if you come back again, would you really, really want to go through this?
Every experience that you get in life helps you to be able to go the next one. And there's no better thing to do than to be able to direct or help to channel the energies of your people for their welfare. Never mind that people have debased politics, but I think that it's a force for good if it is channeled properly. And so I will do so.
Thank you very much for that straight to answer. Dr. Gladys Ngozi, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Thank you so very much. I'm really very happy to have the opportunity to speak with Senator Abaribe. Down here in England, we are very much interested to hear a lot of the work you're doing. And my concern is the reverse of a proverb you gave. Like a mother, we say that if a child misbehaves outside, you don't punish the child outside. You don't go shouting at the child to correct. That is like washing your dirty linen. You bring the child in and still apologize to the people that the child have offended and make everything fine. Then when you come in, you discipline your child. And my heart breaks because of IPOB. I'm a medical doctor. I am an orthopedic surgeon background. I also, by God's grace, I hold a law degree from Coventry University and a master's degree in law in Warwick University because I have an interest in international development, law, and human development. And before all these security things in Nigeria, I used to come down to Aba Teaching Hospital to teach medical students and the young doctors. My mentor was the late Professor Eyum Banaso. He has been my mentor a long time. My father was Honorable Justice Jonah Johnson from Abia State, Isukwato. So I was. And when I see all these things that are happening in Igbo land, and a lot of our people are very intelligent and doing well outside, it hurts me. In my understanding, IPOB, they are activists. And in my understanding, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is also an activist. I've never met him. I accept that at times some of his language and the way he talks may offend people. But you see, my grandmother also used to tell us that so even though we may still say Nnamdi Kanu is too rough, he's talking for our people. If things were all right, he wouldn't be talking. So please, Senator, sir, I'm begging you, with one knee on the floor, if there's any way we can go back to remove that bad name that was given to IPOB. Because look at the Yorubas, no matter what they talk about Sunday Igboho, and Sunday, I don't know his other name, but Igboho is the name everybody's calling him. They call him that he's an activist. They have refused that anybody should call him any bad name. Now look at us and the bandits and the headsmen and every other person. About 2 weeks ago, I wrote an open letter to President Buhari because I was offended in my spirit how these bandits are carrying out. But instead, they are being treated well. So all I'm begging is...
I think you've taken much time.
Thank you so much. 2 minutes, 2 seconds. All I'm saying is, while other people are bringing their own people at the back and correcting them inside, please let us do the same thing. Let us not push our own young boys, young people out. Let us go back in a way to President Buhari or any place to unhook the terrorist target that was put on IPOB. Then when they have been
thank you very much.
proscribed, then we
I
can
have to
now
take,
talk
sorry,
to
I
them.
have to take another
Thank you so
person.
much.
Thank you very much.
No,
Senator,
I've made
can you
my point.
briefly,
Yes, thank you so very much.
So yeah, can you briefly respond to that? Then we can
Yes,
take another person.
let me say this. Part of the reason I also had problem with the federal government was that on the floor of the Senate, I always said to them, why would you tag a man carrying a flag, a terrorist, and refuse to tag a man carrying an AK-47, killing and maiming people, a terrorist? And you see, the federal government always comes with all manners of stories. In fact, the last one was the most ridiculous one, that the Minister of Information said they don't know how to call them terrorists because they don't know them. Can you imagine that type of thinking? So the United Nations says that the Fulani herdsmen are the fourth most terrorist group in the world. And somebody in Nigeria says, we don't know them and therefore we can't tag them anything. So the issue about there being a terrorist organization, of course, it's legal. They had to go to court and they got a call to give them that order. And we know that there's an ongoing court case trying to also unwind that. But I don't think that it will happen under this regime. It will all happen in another regime because these things happen and you can sit down and you can discuss it and then something can come out of it. And that's why we struggle to say, let these people not perpetuate themselves in office, because if they continue to do so, then they will find it very difficult to bend over backwards to have a discussion that will remove that tag.
Thank you very much. Please, if you're called upon to ask your question, please make it very, very brief, please. And Mazi Okoye, please, 30 seconds, go ahead. Mazi Okoye. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Thank you very much, Senator, and thank you very much, Mazi. Okay. My question is quite simple. Is it really true that the Fulanese as a tribe has a hegemony over Nigerian politics? And if you believe this is true, because I've listened to your comments, both in the Senate floor and on television, you making references to this sort of hegemony. If this is true in your mind and clear in your mind, what is your message to the Igbo people? Because it's only so much one can take when a fellow tribe or a fellow countryman is pretending to be fair while they're not fair, and then using hegemony, some kind of hegemony to lord it over you. So what is your message to the Igbo people? Is your message for them to wait until there is a change of regime before something is changed? Or your message, what is your message to the Igbo people?
Thank you very much. Again,
okay,
we have to pay attention with time.
That's one of the things that I think we ought to always bear in mind. No tribe in Nigeria can actually have hegemony over other people. What happens is that the presidency of Nigeria is so powerful that they can make decisions that tend to favor one side over another. President Buhari ran elections 3 times, never won, and couldn't. He had to go into an alliance with Tinubu and the Southwest to be able to get the winning formula for him to become president. And once he became president, he now started taking decisions that were antithetical to our collective welfare. And so saying, one tribe, the hegemony just comes from the fact that somebody is president today and takes decisions that are sectional and that are not in the interest of everyone in Nigeria. So it looks like there's just an interest for one side. And of course, when that happens, that tribe that he has favors now develops some feeling that they are superior to others. And when they have to develop that feeling, when they commit a crime and they are not punished, and there is no something coming against them, then it gives that impression. But because it's a democracy, and I need to reinstate this, because it's a democracy, there is no other way we can say we should go without going through the ballot box. At any time we want to go outside of anything that has to do with the ballot box, then they can use the instruments of state against us. So I guess you can get where I'm coming from.
Yes, I think the answer to Mazi Okoye is very, very clear. There is no way, you've re-emphasized this over and over. If you want to, if you want to get things done, get into politics. Now you said again, if you want to really have real change, get your PVC. That's the summary of what you just said. So we can't get these things done through the back door, except, as you alluded at the beginning, if you people are able to convince some of your colleagues as regards to anything close to doctrine of necessity, then that would be welcomed. And on that note, I would quickly take Dr. Akin Fapunda here, please. Doctor, make it very quick and snappy. We are rounding up now. Thank you very much, Doctor. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Senator Abaribe, it's nice to talk to you today. In 1956, Anthony Naoro made a motion in Parliament for independence.
Yes.
It was defeated. The Northerners opposed it, and when they were leaving Lagos, they were bold and they left Lagos. The motion did not pass in 56, but it was a catalyst for independence movement, which now came in 1960. I just give you that history. Now, can we have a private members bill, a devolution bill? Let it be defeated in the Senate again. Let it be on record that 3-4 of you cobbled together a devolution bill, and let's table it.
Devolution bill.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Doctor, I can assure you there's already one now that we are considering. And we have told them.
No. We want within a month, no time. Honestly, Senator, you sound very comfortable.
You're saying within a month. I mean,
yes.
These things take time.
Of necessity. It's possible because there is an urgent need for us to do that. And I've
involve us then.
Yes.
Involve us to draft this bill now, to put elements there within the next 2 weeks. We can get this bill out. And we can
but Doctor here, he's already telling you that they have one already. They have one already.
Let's know about it now. Let's start selling it to the public. It's not secret.
No, I think the difference here is that it's not urgent. They're just trying to put it among every other thing. And we have told them, in fact, in our last meeting, I told them, we can't continue like this. When we carry everything to take it all, we will not be able to take. Let's just take 1 or 2. If we can take this devolution and take state police, then we can just say, let us round up and do that very quickly. Nigerians can see that something is being done. I agree with you. I actually agree with you.
Is there a timeline to table this bill?
The timeline is that we gave ourselves up till June, that by June, we must come out with the job. Yes, that's the
Anyway,
timeline.
Thank you. Thank you. The doctor appears not to be too satisfied, but again,
It's too far. People are too comfortable now. They are too comfortable. People are not comfortable outside. Then involve us. You don't do it alone. Form a committee. Let's have a committee even outside, inside. Let's do this thing together.
Thank you very much once more. Adeje Jemba, quickly, please. Then the last person is going to be Professor. I want to leave Professor Femi Olufimelade to be the last because I know, obviously, he's going to ask some questions. Adeje Jemba, go ahead, please.
Well, I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. I just want to applaud the distinguished Senator Abaribe for the book. I need an autograph copy. So I sent him a text before that I need an autograph copy. So I'm not buying.
Autograph copy goes through me.
No way. I have direct access, so don't worry about it. So
I'll keep it or send it by DHL to you. I guess it can be done.
All right, thank you. That's all. And thank you, Mazezuke. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you very much, Adeje Jemba. Can I have Professor Femi Olufimelade now, please? And that's going to be the last question for the day. Thank you very much, Professor.
Good evening, Mazi.
Thank you, Prof.
And congratulations, our distinguished Senator Abaribe.
Yes,
I want to thank you for always speaking truth to power. You are one person in that Senate that whenever you rise up to speak, I stand at attention.
I'm very humble.
Having said that, I want to ask whether, because I've been passing a lot of insulting comments on the National Assembly lately, because I wonder why on earth you have not deemed it appropriate to move an impeachment motion on President Muhammadu Buhari for gross abdication of duty. I hope I'm still on.
Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Go ahead.
Yes.
I believe that President Buhari is due for impeachment. In fact, long overdue. So, and I don't know why it has, there is nothing you can call grave abuse of office or dereliction of duties that has not happened under him, And in this country, over 500 people were killed in Agatu some years ago in Benue State. Yes. Not even a word of empathy, not even an inquisition. No arrests were made, not to talk of prosecution. And then we then wonder, do we still have a National Assembly? So that is it. Why is it that the National Assembly is muted, like you are on a Zoom conference and then people don't want you to bring in extraneous voices and then you are muted? Thank you very much, sir.
Well, let me just respond by telling a short story. A short while ago, one of my very good friends, Senator Matthew Urogide, in trying to contribute to a motion, Urogide is from Edo, in trying to contribute to a motion about the incompetence of this government, also mentioned, that all the things that are going on, that look like somebody ought to be impeached. He just mentioned it. He never said, I'm bringing a motion or doing that. Do you know that he was attacked when he got back to Benin by Edo people in Edo State at the airport? He was rescued by the governor. At that time, the governor was in APC. So
yes, we
people are scared. People are scared. It's just it. There's nothing else. Otherwise, so everybody's just scared. They don't want to be known as those who have opened their mouths against the KBS. I'm sure that, Prof, knowing that you are from the Southwest, know what KBS is.
I know. You dare not question them. That's the meaning.
Yeah, that's what it means. And that's what is going on with our presidency.
But this is a democracy, and we don't have it's not a shrine where we have oracles in operation. So it's democracy, and people should have the right to air their views and yeah. So Marcel, please, again, you're coming back again. Make it quick.
Okay, my senator, sorry, I just said let me ask this. Referendum is a fundamental human right globally. People have a right to choose how they live and where they stay. Is it a sin to raise a motion of referendum in the Nigerian Senate? I just want to know.
It's not. The only thing that happens is that we cannot raise motions on what is not in the Constitution. You will be ruled out of order.
Mm-hmm.
The referendum.
So we're in bondage invariably.
So when you not say, "Oh, I'm ready," no. What happens really is that we tried when we're doing a constitutional amendment to also put it in the Constitution. That is the point, to say you have a right. You understand? Also, until it put there, we are not in bondage. We are circumscribed. They just use that word.
Now, Senator, let me ask a follow-up question to that. I remember the UPP prompting them, touting themselves that they have referendum and self-determination in their party manifesto. So if that be the case, of what essence is the referendum and self-determination in their party constitution then?
Well, they could put anything in their constitution, but what you live with here is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, if you now go to put it in your own private constitution, I think you just, you probably just want to put something there. Actually, will they say when they get into office, then they will implement what is in their constitution? No. When you get into office, you will also have to implement what is in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because that is what you're going to use to swear an oath.
So the 12th items in the report, the El-Rufai committee obviously said that they've submitted to the Senate. I think the 11th item therein is the call for referendum. So I don't know, have you cited the report that was sent to the Senate?
Yes, I've had a look at the report, but I haven't taken an in-depth look. In fact, at the moment, I gave it to some people to break it down so that, when you have voluminous things like that, you have to find a way of breaking it down before. So they're doing the executive summary for us now.
Okay, thank you very much. On an exception here, please, whenever you join a meeting like this, come in with your real name. So who is this? It says iPhone. That's an exception. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello. I don't know why it's saying iPhone. Is it me? Mine says okay. It's Dr.
Please
Nana.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah.
Please, go ahead.
Dr. Nana Igwe, her name is the president in the UK. Congratulations, distinguished senator in Beribe. One, her name is the UK released some press conference when you were arrested last time.
Yes.
Condemning your incarceration, and thank God that you were released. So well done for the work you're doing, not only for Ndibo, but for Nigeria. My question is the one on Southeast president. We know that power, even though it's not written, rotates between the South and the North of Nigeria. And this time, the Northern people, they are finishing their tenure. It should come to the South. And if you come to the South, it's only the Southeast haven't had a chance. So that is why we are clamoring that we stand a very good chance across party. And we, haven't listened to you, you talked about, party politics. But I I want to ask you, don't you think that we stand the best chance? We should do whatever it takes and shout it on top of the roof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nanda. I think, Dr. Nanda, I think you joined.
Thank you.
Sorry, I think you joined us very late.
We had already.
I've been here.
No, but that question has been addressed. He has addressed it when I asked the question of Igbo or Southeast. Again, we'll run into the same issue.
Southeast, the president of Southeast,
no, Nigerian president of Southeast extraction. So, okay. So, please, Chief Uzokwelu, after you, then Mazi Obiokoli, and that's it. Thank you very much. Chief Chibo Uzokwelu, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes,
thank you very much, Mazi Ezeoke, for this event. And I must also thank Senator Abaribe for his great efforts, at least being he's the last man standing for us in the Senate, despite having some other representatives. So thank you very much for a job well done, and more grease to your elbow. So my question is on the confirmation of the service chiefs for their ambassadorial posting. To my shock and chagrin, I learned that the Senate, where you sit, actually passed their affirmation and approval for them to become ambassadors, despite all the Igweke Python dance in the East and all the complaints that were raised, and even up to taking them to the ICC. So there must have been some things that transpired in the Senate which you are privileged, which you have privileged information. Otherwise, why the confirmation? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, if you watched it that day, you will have also seen that I got up and I vehemently opposed it. And I asked for the reason why the committee that brought the report could go ahead to say that they are qualified. Because the committee didn't give any reason. They just said, oh, we got some petitions, they were dismissed. Said, if you dismiss a petition, you're supposed to write what is that petition, what are the elements of it, and these are the reasons why you dismiss it. So it was just a job that was done just to please the authorities, the presidency. That's just it. And I opposed it. If you were there, almost so many people, we just got tired. But like I say, political parties also put a lot of pressure on their members. And part of the thing that we see on the floor of the Senate is that some members are always put on the spot, and nobody wants to be seen to be against his party. And so anytime that they say, oh, let's do a voice vote, they just shout and go away. So it's very unfortunate.
The voice vote appears to be most times rigged, because sometimes I can hear people say nay, and all I hear is the years have it. Is there any measurement? Is there any measurement in the House?
I don't know whether there's a measurement for it.
Okay, so Mazi Obiokoli, please go ahead.
My distinguished senator, good evening. Ojeli Bozi. My senator, I have two questions for you. One is about the census in Nigeria. Is there any plan by the Senate to have a proper census? And secondly, this evening, we saw that Sunday Ogboho basically escaped being kidnapped by the DSS. And increasingly from intercity, we are discovering a lot of illegal detentions where our people adopted from Obibo and all the rest of Nigeria are being kept. Is there any action from the Senate to have a proper head count or visibility of all the detention centers in Nigeria and the people that are being held in these illegal detentions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, let me start from that one. What usually happens is that there's the Committee on Internal Affairs who oversee the correctional centers and all that are those whose job will be to say, let us look at it. The Committee on Police Affairs also could do that. the whole Senate cannot just wake up and start to investigate. So usually it's given to them. And it comes to them if somebody writes a petition to say, this happens and we want you to investigate it. Then the Senate president will now send it to that. And so it is because of the time lag that a lot of people are not even interested, and some don't even know that they can make a complaint. The complaint can come through any senator to the floor of the Senate, and action is taken. We know that. As for the attempted arrest and all that, that is what happens. You would think that a man of that nature, whom their people are, they will just want to shut you up. And that is just the problem. It's the reality that we live with. And anybody who is a patriot and who is also willing to undergo the difficulties involved in public affairs, they are the people who come out to say, no, I won't agree. But those who want to live in their safe health will not talk. And of course, we think that by staying away, they are insulated. But this thing comes to everybody at every time. I think part of the reason why Abiola wanted to be president at a particular time was that despite how rich he was, I think his child was beaten up or something by Air Force men, if you remember, at that time. And they wanted to take him in. So it comes to you. And that is the reason why we continue to insist that democratic rights must be respected at all times. But the spate of detentions and all that means that the government is increasingly being very, very, rattled by the criticisms against them and the fact that they're not doing what they ought to do. And so I have the wrong notion that if the few people who are talking are kept quiet, then everybody else will. Which maybe 19th century thinking, because I don't think that in the 21st century, with all the information that goes around, that anybody can suppress the voice of the people.
Yeah, Senator, that is a very fine place to, start bringing this conversation. I thank you once more for being part of this conversation this evening. But in conclusion here, the last chapter, or rather the chapter 10 of your book, it is titled In the Interest of the Nation. In the Interest of the Nation. Can you give us a snippet of that?
Well, what I tried to do there was to put my own thoughts down on what I think we ought to do and how I think the trajectory of this nation should go. Because I felt that, well, I can write my story, I can write about myself, but I should also say, if we follow this path, that path may lead us to perdition. If we don't follow that path of perdition, we can do the path of promise. So I put in 2, 3, or 4 different lectures that I had given in different places to say this is the best way to go. And part of what I said, which will interest a few people, is also that it is not the Constitution, neither is it the law. It is the practitioner determining to do the wrong thing and saying that what he's doing is right. And I can tell you, when we criticize President Buhari for making Northerners only in, and they said, no, that the Constitution said that you will spread it and that they all come from different states. Can you imagine that kind of thinking? That the Constitution didn't specifically say that it must come from North or South. And we asked, in fact, when they made that argument, I asked them, so why did he choose a Southwesterner as president, as a vice president? He should have gone ahead and chosen somebody from the North. That's what the Constitution says. So you can understand that people will bend the law to suit their private interests. And that is one of the bane of our existence as a country. That's what is in that part of the book.
Thank you very much. That's a fine place to leave it. So looking at some of your questions here online and in this Zoom call this evening, I can see that many of you are still questioning and asking questions as to where you can get this book. The book, if you go to amazon.com, amazon.uk, amazon.ca, or in Nigeria, you can check that book at okadabook.com. Now, if you get that, if you want to read that book tonight, you can get a Kindle copy of that book from Amazon. Now, Senator, here, a request from people within here, how can they get an autographed copy? Someone is actually requesting that you send.
Tochukwu, if you coordinate it for me and
Yes.
just let me have the names, I will autograph the copies and then I can send it.
Okay, so someone is asking here, are we going to get an autograph copy? We will pay for the DHL. I think someone from Canada, but it's fine. We'll coordinate that. But I mean, it's.
We coordinate that. We think
Yeah,
so.
thank you very much. I would do that so that we get that done. Now, on that note, I would say it's been a very fantastic conversation for over an hour and a half, sitting down with you, having this conversation. Actually, it's been eye-opening, and also to note that you've taken time, as you've said, that your colleagues are telling you the book, your memoir, is not complete. I found it astonishing, because if now they're already telling you left a lot of things not in the book, then one will be expecting that maybe in the next 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 years, you would come out with another book. I mean, that is rare these days, but it is very, very encouraging. Thank you very much for putting out this book. Again, if you haven't gotten hold of this book, please do. I have my own e-copy. That book, it's fantastic. Please, that is Medinaba. At the beginning, the senator made mention of why he named and titled that book Medinaba. And that is equally something for those of you who didn't join from the beginning. Grab a copy of that book. You will see, the man we call, he hasn't accepted, I said it at the beginning, he hasn't accepted this officially, but we call him Mara Ndibo. And I believe
Actually, Tochukwu, I have a title.
Mara Ndibo.
Yes.
So that means it's going to be Mara Ndibo
Square. Ruler in my case gave it to me, actually, among the 36 titles that I have,
See? So that's a fine one. It's going to be Mara Ndibo squared now.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much once more. And once more, thank you all the viewers from the various social media handle. Thank you for being part of this conversation this evening. It has been a fantastic evening with the senator, the only senator. Sometimes when some people say that, other senators get angry. But again, the reason people elect you is to speak on behalf of your people. And if someone who is speaking on behalf of his people is said to be the only senators, please do not get angry. Rather, you go and do what he's doing. On that note, I will give you the opportunity to have the closing remarks, Senator.
Well, I thank you all, and I'm very glad. You've done a great job, Tochukwu. I'm sure that on Monday, when we're doing the live streaming, everybody will also hear from everybody else. P2B will be there. I especially had to beg him because he's one of those that I respect. There are Nigerians also who did their own bit, and you can see what they did. Patu told me too, who wrote the foreword.
The foreword, yeah.
Yes, and Chidi Amuta, who also wrote the second foreword. They will all be there. And so many people told me they're going to join by Zoom. I will look forward to.
We are expecting to have
on Monday I will be 66, and I think that we're getting on, and I'm going into being a senior citizen now.
Officially retired.
That will help me to even speak more because when you are now an old man. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. On that note, I will say, everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. It has been a fantastic evening, and